Okay, good morning everyone. And we are continuing over here in the Yud Gimel Midos and the 13 attributes of faith, the 13 principles of faith that the Rambam sets up so beautifully for us to understand what it means to be a Jew, what we're supposed to believe in. And we're holding over here by the 12th one. We started already a few weeks ago. I had a couple of ones that we missed, my apologies. But we are regaining our momentum, Be'ez Hashem, and we're starting back with the 12th principle. That means we're one away from the finish line. And this is the principle of faith of the belief that we have in the coming of Mashiach. And just to remind ourselves, the words of the Rambam are, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shalema. I believe with absolute faith, Bevias HaMashiach, that Mashiach is coming. Even though that he might delay, nevertheless, I wait for him every single day. Today might be the day that he is going to come. So there's a part of our amunah, is that this world is not the end of the line, and this world is not what the goal of life is all about. That rather we would come to a place called Yemais HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring the world to fruition. And all of our efforts, all of our hard work, all of our investments in the spiritual endeavors while we were in this world, they will come to fruition when the Mashiach is going to come. Because when Mashiach is going to come, the whole world is going to take on a state of perfection, as we discussed in the last year. But I want to speak about today something that is extremely, extremely fundamental to the concept and the idea of Mashiach coming. And it's really a question that we have to ask ourselves. We want Mashiach to come. We want that he's going to enter into the world. He's going to usher in a new era of greatness, of purity, of sanctity. The nations are going to leave us alone. We'll be able to serve and commune with Hashem the way that we want to. Why do we want Mashiach to come so badly? Is it because we want for ourselves selfishly that we're going to have a better life, things are going to look better? If a person will think about it, the truth is, as we're going to see, that it's not so simple. When Mashiach will come, it means that a person's world of Avodas Hashem, their struggles and their growth, capitalizing on situations where they could actually have an aliyah, they could have an elevation in ruchnius, it's not going to be so simple that things will work anymore the way that they do right now. And a person might be capped off wherever they were in this world, whatever levels they reached, whatever understandings of amunah that they have, however much we served Hashem in our lifetimes, that's where we're going to be left off when Mashiach will come. So is it really the greatest benefit in our lives for Mashiach to come? What are we going to gain? Yes, it's going to be a better life, says the Rambam. Things are going to be easier for us to deal with. But we ourselves are no longer going to be able to grow in the way that we could grow here in this world. Yetzer Hara, as we mentioned last week, is going to be different. The nature of the world is going to be different. The challenges will be different. Everything will be different. And if the point of life is to grow, the point of life is to struggle through the challenging situations, overcome them, and become a greater person, so then Bias Goyal Tzedek, the coming of Mashiach, means I'm no longer going to have those opportunities. So then why are we asking Mashiach to come so much? Who exactly is the greatest necessity of Mashiach's coming for? And that's what we're going to speak about today. What is it really all about? So the Mesilas Yesharim writes the following words. A person certainly has to be mitztayir, they have to be in pain constantly. Tsar mamish, literal anguish, over the galus, over the exile, ala chorban, and the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, the temple which is lying in ruins. Why? Now he doesn't say what you might think he's going to say. Mitzad ma sheze goyrem miyut keviyachol lichvayda yisbarach. The reason that a person has to mourn over the loss of the Beis HaMikdash, the reason that it has to pain them, tsar mamish, literally, anguish over a result of the fact that there's not a temple in this world, is because it has decreased the kavod, the honor and the glory of Hashem in the universe. V'yis'avid l'geula, says the Ramchal, you should desire for the geula to come. You should desire for the geula to come. Lefi sheba yihye ilui lichvod shema yisbarach. Because when a person wants that there will be a geula, wants that the redemption will come, because once the redemption comes, what does that mean? That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's honor, His glory, His Shechina is going to be elevated in this world. Right now, the Shechina, unfortunately, is very much in hiding. The Shechina, the divine presence, is something that doesn't get a lot of credit. The Shechina, the divine presence, is something, the essence of this entire universe, which people are not aware of. So he's disgraced, shamed, put down. Once that the geula, once that the redemption will come to Klal Yisrael, and it will come to the world, so the benefit, says the Ramchal, is going to be that the Shechina's glory will be restored amongst mankind again. V'yispalil tamid al gulasim shel Yisrael. A person should daven constantly for the geula, for the redemption of Klal Yisrael. V'hashavas kvoid shemayim, because along with the geula, with the redemption of the Jewish people, is going to come the restoration of the kavod, of the honor of the Shechina, the glory of the heavens. V'ala eider davezeh Yisrael Hanavi, and on the lack of this, that we live in a world where the Shechina is hidden. We've spoken many times. The word Olam, which means world, is from the language of He'elam, which means hidden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is deeply hidden in this world. So much so that sometimes we simply don't see Him. We're not even aware. And if we're not aware, we're trying. We are the people that are making efforts. You're coming to Shiurim, you're davening every single day, you're living your life with a Shabbos, with a Yom Tov, with kashrus, with mitzvahs. We're trying to uncover HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. Even there He is concealed. So all the more so to the other 7.8 billion people that are running around in this universe, some of them with like chickens with their heads cut off, all the more so HaKadosh Baruch Hu's honor and His glory is concealed and it has disappeared. And therefore, the Navi Yeshaya, he bemoans this fact. This is going back, 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. The great prophet Yeshaya bemoaned the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden in this world. V'yireh ki ein ish, v'yishtaimim ki ein mavgia. Nobody's looking, nobody's searching, nobody's even aware, says Yeshaya, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to find His place back here in this world. But the Ramchal goes on further, and he quotes Yirmiyahu HaNavi, the prophet Jeremiah. Tzion hi daresh ein la. Tzion, the city of Jerusalem, where the temple stood in its place. Daresh ein la, there's no one that is seeking, there's no one that is searching, that is looking for the Shechina. Uper Shozal, our sages explain to us, Michlal de boy drisha. We learn from this verse that if you want Mashiach to come, if you want the Shechina to be restored, if you want Klal Yisrael to once again be basking in the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Yerushalayim in the Beis HaMikdash, it requires drisha. A person must spend time seeking and searching and looking for Him. V'amar kol abasar chatzir v'kol chazar ketzitz hasadeh. What does that mean, say Chazal? Shekol chesed she'osim, all of the kindness that the nations of the world do. Li'atzmam heim oisim, they're doing it for themselves. L'toivas nafsham u'la'noisam. They do it for their own benefit and their own pleasures. Ve'ena mischavnim l'kavana hashlema hazais. They don't have in mind the great intent, which is that if, in fact, we would have done things for the sake of bringing Hashem's glory to this world, then the world would be a better place. Then we would be able to claim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when Mashiach comes, you know why we made the roads? You know why we made an airplane? You know why we made ships? Because we wanted, you know why we made lights? I didn't invite lights so that it could flash on Sunset Boulevard. I made lights so that the Jewish people would be able to sit in their houses of study and prayer and learn and pray. If, in fact, the world would have done that, however, they didn't. They don't desire the greater glory of Hashem, and the redemption of the Jewish people. The only way that Hashem is going to be able to increase His honor and His glory in this world is if the Jewish people are redeemed. And therefore, not only should we want that Mashiach is going to come, but says the Ramchal, the whole world should want that Mashiach will come, because when that happens, the Jewish people are restored to their place, and then the Shechina will come down to this world in the right way. What does that mean? That means, says the Ramchal, that we're not davening for ourselves, that we want Mashiach to come to make our lives better. You know, I'm tired of living in California over here. There's so much schmutz all around me. I'd rather be living in a land of Kedusha, the holy land of Eretz Yisrael. I'll be very happy if Mashiach will come, because I'll be able to get myself out of this mess over here, whatever it is that I find myself in. The personal, the private, the family, the communal, all the stresses that a person has over here. I know that when Mashiach comes, it's all going to get better. Says the Ramchal, that's not why you're asking for Mashiach. That's selfish reasons. You want a better world, you want a better life, you want things to be nicer? No, that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because there's something called Tsar HaShechina. The Shechina itself is in pain. The Shechina itself is remiss over the world that we are living in. The Shechina itself desires that the Jewish people should be closer to Him in everything that we do. And since that the Tsar HaShechina, the Shechina suffers and the Shechina is in pain, it should pain us that He's in so much pain. And that's why we're asking. That is why we're asking that Mashiach could come. I was just thinking last night, imagine we're coming to the Yom Tov of Hanukkah. Imagine what's going on over there. The Greeks, in their implicit rishus, their wickedness, that they were so in tune with the Jewish people, they said like this: look, you've been through a lot. You've had a lot of enemies in your history, a lot of nations that wanted to destroy you, kill you, wipe you out. We're the Greeks. We're cultured. We are outstanding citizens. We believe in science. We believe in art, entertainment. We believe in sport and taking care of yourself. We even believe in philosophy. We're much loftier than the ruthless barbarians like the Babylonians, like the Romans, like the Egyptians that attacked you while you were there living in Egypt. We're not like that. We are noble, refined individuals. So you know what? We're not going to kick you out of the land of Israel. We're not going to kill you. No, we would never do such a thing. All that we want is you can stay here, you can keep the Beis HaMikdash. We'll change things around a little bit. We'll put, instead of offering the cows and the sheep and the goats, you're going to offer chazer, you'll offer a pig. Instead of having no idols, there'll be idols in the Beis HaMikdash. We'll destroy all of the kelim, all the vessels that are there, because we want to make sure that you can't do all the service that you need to do. But we're not going to kill you. We're not going to throw you out. We're not going to exile you. All we want is that you should assimilate to become like us. Now, the Jewish people were living in Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. They were living where there was a Beis HaMikdash, there was a temple. There were Kohanim, there were Leviim that did their avodah, they did their service in the Beis HaMikdash. There were schools, there were yeshivas, there was Torah that was being learned. There were beautiful families of Jerusalem that were keeping mitzvahs just as it was from when it was handed down at Har Sinai. It was a miraculous existence of the Jewish people. And yet they got fooled by the Greeks. And they quickly began shedding themselves of their identity. They began shedding their ruchnias, their Yiddishkeit. They began shedding their emunah. And they gravitated towards the Greek ideologies and lifestyle, which is very antithetical to Torah ideology and belief. And as they were doing all of that, leaving by the droves, they were leaving Yiddishkeit. And they were becoming what's called misyavnin, they were becoming like Greeks. They had assimilated, they had gone against Jewish culture and they embraced the Greek culture. So they started the assimilation, stopped keeping mitzvahs, doing all these things. Imagine who is the one that was suffering the most during this exile. And this was an exile in Eretz Yisrael. The Shechina, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's watching his children in the Holy Land, in the Beis HaMikdash, surrounded by tzaddikim, Talmidei Chachamim. They're all surrounded by them. And he's watching them leave the pathways of their faith. Could anybody imagine the tsar, the anguish of the Shechina? Could anybody imagine the disappointment, the frustration, the heartache that he had over the fact that the Greeks had come in and convinced masses of the Jewish people to trade in their Yiddishkeit for what? For the javelin? To trade in their Shabbos for a Colosseum theater? To trade in their Yom Tiv so they could go and they could sit in the elite, advanced areas of learning and they could go and they could explore the sciences? Could anybody imagine the tsar, the anguish that the Shechina had? And therefore, says the Ramchal over here, that's the kavanah, that's the intent that we're supposed to have when we think that why do we want Mashiach to come? We want Mashiach to come. Yes, of course, we want to get a better life. Yes, we want to go into a better place. We want all of that. That's true, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is because it pains us to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in so much pain. It pains us to know that the Shechina wants to flow into this world so much abundant kindness and goodness and Kiddush and holiness, and yet he can't. Because the world has become obliterated from what it's supposed to be. And therefore the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is in pain, that is our pain, and that's why we want the Shechina to come. And he quotes over here the Nefesh HaChaim. And he writes, V'ikr kavanasai shel adam b'tfilasai. The main kavanah, the main intent, the main focus that a person should have in their prayers. Lo liyispal al tzarchi atzmo. Don't daven for yourself. Of course, whatever we are lacking, whatever we're missing, whatever we want, it's only natural that we're going to daven for ourselves. But that's not the ikr kavanah, the main intent. Ela kvod shemayim, rather you should be davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm so sorry that your honor and your glory has been disavowed here in this world, Hashem. And I'm davening, I'm praying HaKadosh Baruch Hu that your glory should be restored as it was before. Ukema ish mi'anshe achayil, like men of an army. Shemashlich kol inyanav utzrachav mineged. Whatever they want for themselves, they want their comfort, they want their money, they want their business, they want their livelihood, they want their family. If the man is in the army of the king and he gets called up to the battle lines, he throws it all to the side. Umaysa nafshay v'ritzayna rak al kvod hamelech, and he's willing to give up his life for the sake of the honor and the glory of the king. Why does somebody go out to battle? Why does somebody have to fight the war? In the olden days when people had pride in their country and they had pride in their king and the sovereignty of that nation, so it was a badge of honor. It was glory for them to know that they were one of the members of the army that was fighting for the king and his nation and his country. And when they would go out to the battle lines, even though they had so many things on their plate in their own personal life, it all drops by the wayside. And they're doing everything they possibly can to defend the honor and the glory of the king himself. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, Kach roi l'kol adam hayashar. Any person that is yashar, that is straight. Lasim kol kavanasai v'tar machshavasai. When it comes to your own davening, your own prayers, you should make your kavanah, your intention, and the purity of your thoughts. Lahoisif laseis koyach ba'alamas hakdoshim. You want to increase and add power to the spiritual realms. Lahavir ruach hatuma min haaretz, to remove the spirit of impurity from the land. Lesakin olam b'malchus shakai. You want to fix up this world, correct the universe with the kingdom of Hashem. Is that how we daven? I remember this class, once upon a time, this was the power of your prayers. After we spent about 130 shiurim on the siddur, working so we should understand the words better, understand the meanings behind the messages that are there. When a person steps up to the plate of Shemona Esrei, and they're saying all the brachas that we have, 19 blessings, Shachris, Mincha, maybe Mariv as well, is a person thinking to themselves, are they thinking that I want to be Mesakin Malchus Shakai, I want to correct the nature of the Malchus of the kingdom of Hashem in this world? Which means I want to remove all of the impurities, all of the sheker, the falsehood that's filling up this world, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His Shechina, His glory, will once again be able to come down. That's the kavanah. V'roi v'brachas b'tfilas. Shemona Esrei u'birchas hamazayin hemal gulasam shel Yisrael u'bebinyan beis hamikdash. Go the next time you daven. If you didn't daven Shachris yet, after class you'll have time. And if you did already, when you get to Mincha today, pay attention to the words in the Shemona Esrei. When you bench, after you eat your bread meal, you say the grace after meals, pay attention to what you are saying over there. Says the Ben Zion Epstein, the majority of all of the brachas that we have are all about the geula, the redemption of the Jewish people from galus, from exile, and the binyan Beis HaMikdash, and the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because the two things go hand in hand. Number one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Shechina has been lost amongst the generations, amongst the years and years of struggling and of history and of exiles of the Jewish people. And therefore we need our redemption, our geula to come. And secondly, he says that the binyan Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash must be rebuilt. Because when Mashiach will come and the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt, what took place in the Beis HaMikdash? Avodas Hashem, the service of God. Korbanai, sacrifices, as we know. Korban is a language of karev, to bring close. The korbanos brought us closer to Hashem. All the service that went on over there, the Kohanim, the Leviim, and everybody that would come, there were Nevi'im, there were prophets at those times as well. Shlomo Melech, King Solomon. Look what we lost. We lost a world in which the Shechina was revealed, where He was known. When you would walk in, like the Mishnah says, Asara, Nisim, Asula, V'Seinu, Beis HaMikdash. There were 10 open miracles in the Beis HaMikdash every single day. So that when you needed chizuk, you needed some inspiration. You wanted to remind yourself how powerful and mighty Hashem is, and how proud you are to be a Jew. You walked in the Beis HaMikdash, you saw miracles. Wow, Hashem, you're amazing. Look at all those miracles that are going on over there. Okay, I believe in you. I see that it couldn't happen without you. I understand these things. The Beis HaMikdash of Makkah was a place, Hashras Hashchina, the revelation and the resting place, the dwelling place of the Shechina. We don't have that today. That means the Shechina is so deeply buried inside the world. Even when you go to shul, it's hard to come in contact with the Shechina. The ruach, the atmosphere in the shuls, especially now, COVID, look at this. I continue after 10 months to give classes to an empty Beis Midrash, to an empty room. I can't even get people to come back inside. Everybody's comfortable. They don't want to come back to the shul. I told you already 1,000 times, you wear your mask, you'll sit 16 feet apart from each other, you'll come and you'll sit down and we'll learn together in person. And yet, nevertheless, the shuls are remaining empty. Baruch Hashem, we have davening. Baruch Hashem, we have Shabbos, we have Yom Neroyim, we have Yom Tov, all that, Baruch Hashem. But what about learning? Learning is what gives the atmosphere, it gives the koyach, it gives the power, it gives the kedusha to the walls of this shul. So we need that. We don't have that now. When there's no Beis HaMikdash in the world, we don't have the edifice in reality down here in the physical world where the Shechina can come and dwell. And therefore the Shechina is in hiding. He's in hibernation to a certain extent. How are we going to access, how are we going to get that Shechina? Says the Nefesh HaChaim, you know what you're going to do? You're going to daven. And all of your kavanas, all of your intent should be, for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want that Mashiach should come. So that you could be restored to the mantle of honor and of glory that you deserve, that everybody will know about you and everybody will see you and they will beseech you and will act differently. The reason that we are involved in sinful behavior is because we don't feel and see the presence of Hashem in our lives. When the Beis HaMikdash will return, when Mashiach will come, when the Shechina will once again dwell in this world, you won't sin. You won't want to. Because you'll realize that I'm here in this world to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anything opposite of that is only going to be hurtful. So he brings over here a question that was once asked to the Chavetz Chaim. And I heard this question also asked to a very big Rav who answered differently. Somebody once asked the Chavetz Chaim the following: why should we wait for Mashiach to come? Everybody knows that when Mashiach comes, you won't be able to do mitzvahs the same way. You won't have the challenges, the struggles the same way. You won't overcome and you won't elevate yourself in the same way. And therefore you won't be able to acquire rewards for the mitzvahs that you're doing the way that you could here in this world. So Mashiach coming really is, a person is going to lose the reward of their avodas Hashem, of the service of God. So in reality, this person asked the Chavetz Chaim, it's kind of worse for us if Mashiach comes, because we won't be able to reach the highest heights that we could. And the Chavetz Chaim answered him the following: Shetafkid Adam, the purpose of man is le'lidoig le'atzmai, is not to worry about ourselves. Rather, we are here to worry about the honor and the glory of Hashem. Anybody's living like this? When we think to ourselves, what bothers us so much, we're worrying about ourselves. Why did this happen? Why does that happen? How come things don't work out the way that I wanted to? It's me. Hashem, why'd you do this to me? How come this is not going my way? How come this is happening in the world right now? Why this? Why that? We worry about ourselves. Says the Chavetz Chaim, that's not why you came to this world. The tafkid, the purpose, the goal, the task, the mission of man is not that they should sit around and worry about themselves. Rather, we should be concerned. V'doyeg, we should be worried over the fact that the kvod shemayim, the honor and the glory of the heaven of Hashem, is not here in this world. And this we spoke, those of you that are in our Tehillim class, we mentioned many Tehillims ago that one of the ways that a person is supposed to daven for Yeshua, for salvation, when it's personal, is the following. And this we learned from the words of Rav Gamliel Rabinovich, and he says that when you're davening for your own personal salvation, you're supposed to say the following words: it's not for me, Hashem. But I know that since that this difficulty is taking place in my life right now, I know that it is a concealment of the kvod shemayim, of the glory, your glory, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I know that because I'm going through what I'm going through, other people will see me and say, oh, that's what a frum Jew gets. That's what a religious Jew gets in his life. He gets that sorrow and that sorrow and that sorrow. So they don't see your glory, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you know what I'm davening for? I'm davening that you should rescue me from this difficult situation that I'm in right now, in order that your glory will be restored in the eyes of other people. That's not selfish, says Tehillim over there. That is actually showing that you get the point that I was placed into this world to be concerned with you, Ribbono Shel Olam. And I want everything to change in this world for your sake, Ribbono Shel Olam. And I want that the suffering and the exile and the pain and the difficulties and the troubles and the challenges that people are going through in this world, Hashem, I want it for your sake. Yes, of course, I want that they should be made healthy, and this one should get a shidduch, and this one should have a munah. Yes, I want all of that, Hashem. But it's not for the sake of the person themselves. It is for your glory. Because the more Yidden that are keeping the more Torah, and doing more mitzvahs, and learning, and being Bali Amunah, believing in you, Hashem, and working on themselves, and growing in their Avodah. Yes, it's true, we are the beneficiaries because we're elevated, we're better, we're greater people. And we'll have more reward that's waiting for us in the world to come. All true. But it's for you, Ribbono Shel Olam. Because when your nation and your people are struggling and they are falling, when people are going through hardships in life which make it difficult for them to function properly, when the world seems to be falling apart at the seams, and the Jewish people can't learn the same way, cannot daven the same way, cannot go to school the same way, cannot be in yeshiva the same way, cannot make simchas in the same way, when we can't do that, Hashem. So yes, it's true that we are suffering, but who's really suffering? Your Shechina, your glory is suffering. Because we are the conduits, we are the pipelines that are able to bring the Shechina down here into this world. And when we are confined, and when we are not able to do things in the way that we want to, when we find inside of ourselves that we are held back from being able to bring your Shechina into this world the way that we would like to, and the way that you would like us to, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's losing out? You and I. So I'm mispal, I daven, get rid of this tzara, get rid of this difficulty and this pain, so that I should be redeemed and your glory should be redeemed as well. Because when the Jewish people have bracha, we have blessing, we have things that are going good, so your name is great. As everybody knows, when the Jewish people were going through the Holocaust, and they were living lives of Gehenna, literally living in this world, the most painful and horrific of times. And the whole world looked on as the Jewish people, who are supposed to be the chosen nation, they were suffering at the hands of the Nazis, Yimach Shemam. And million after million after million were being beaten and killed and gassed in the chambers, buried alive in graves, digging their own graves and the like. The world said, oh, that's the Jewish people. That's the chosen nation. Yeah, their God really cares about them. He's really watching over them to make sure that they have a good life. Everybody knows that the more that the Jewish people suffer and are in pain, the more the world mocks HaKadosh Baruch Hu and mocks our nation. And therefore Hashem's glory, to be Mesakin, Malchus, Shakai, to fix up the world with His glorious kingdom, it is diminished, it is hidden. However, if I'm being mispal, if I'm davening for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why should you be shamed in this world? Why should you be disgraced? Why should people say Lashon Hara about the Ribbono Shel Olam? He doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't really like the Jewish people, he's not even around anymore. Why should the world think like that? So therefore, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will hear my prayers. Yeah, I'm in pain with myself. I'm suffering through my own difficulties and my struggles. That's all true. But at the end of the day, the greatest glory will come to you when the situation is gone and is taken care of, and the challenges are over, and the Yeshua, the salvation comes. That, says the Nefesh HaChaim. That, says the Chavetz Chaim. That is the real meaning behind our tafkid, our mission here in this world. And he writes over here from Chaim Volozhiner. And Chaim Volozhiner has drushes. They wrote down his drushes, the speeches that he gave in different parts of the year, and one of them that they have collected are the drushes of Rosh Hashanah. This that he said on the holiest of days on Rosh Hashanah. What did he say? Now he's talking to the Jewish people on Rosh Hashanah, and we have to imagine he's the Rosh Yeshiva of the Volozhiner Yeshiva. We're going back into the 1800s. We're talking about 200 years ago. And they were the elite, the cream of the crop of the Jewish nation. The biggest Talmidei Chachamim, the greatest scholars, the holiest of men. Even the whole city of Volozhin, he would go around, he would give shiurim to those people. They're not like people like us who are on their phone, WhatsApping, Instagramming. They're not like people like us that sit in restaurants for hours on end. We have nothing else to do in our lives. They're not like people like us that are busy with all the gashmias, all the physicality of this world, trying to make things more comfortable for ourselves. They lived hard lives in that country over there in Europe, in Poland. They lived simple lives. Their lives, we wake up in the morning, go to the shul, crack of dawn, daven, learn, go out to the fields and work all day long, come back exhausted, tired, hungry, body broken, go back to the Beis Mikdash and learn again. The women were tzidkaniyos, they were the most righteous of women. The kids were pure, they never saw an ounce of tomb of impurity in their life. And Chaim Volozhiner is talking to these people, the elite Bachrim, students of his yeshiva, and the elite members of the Volozhiner community over there. And he's saying the following words. If we would have kavanah, we would have intent in all of our prayers on Rosh Hashanah, and all of our supplications. Rak al tsar Shechina keviyachol, the only thing that we were concerned about is the tsar, the anguish that the Shechina, that the divine presence feels. Bevadai hayinu zoichim lios nenonim al inyan bakashasenu. Certainly then we would be worthy of being answered for our supplication, for our request. Lihigoel geula shalema, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring the geula shlema, the redemption to the Jewish people. If only, says Chaim Volozhiner, our intention was proper when we prayed, and we're davening for your glory, not for us, Hashem, and then we're asking that the Geula Shleima, the redemption, should come, certainly HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to listen to us and answer our prayers. Aval Hashamim anachnu, however, with great regret, says Chaim Volozhiner, we sin. We don't put our hearts at all on the tsar Shechina, on the pain that the Shechina is feeling. We're so consumed with ourselves and our own difficulties in life, we just think about how much pain we are in. We only ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help us because of our tsar, because of our anguish, udaigas parnaseinu, and the concern of our parnas, of our livelihood. That's what was going on in those days and hasn't changed. Therefore, says Chaim Volozhiner, that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not answer our prayers. Person davens and davens and davens for something. I want this, I want this, I want this. Help me Hashem. Get rid of this, get rid of that. There's no answer to our prayers because, Hashem, are you listening? Chaim Volozhiner, a very powerful point. You know, he is listening. Of course, he hears what we say. But you're asking for the wrong thing. You don't want the healing because you're going to become a better person. You don't want the parnasa because you're going to become a wealthier person. You don't want the siyata d'shemaya, the heavenly assistance, because you're going to be a better person. You want all of these things because the Shechina is going to be restored to this world. And if, says the Chaim Volozhiner, that would be your intention while you are davening, I'm not in it for myself, but rather I recognize, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how much you are suffering, how much anguish you are in because you're not able to fill the world with what you want to, then guess what? All of our prayers will be answered. Daven for yourself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could say no. Daven for His glory, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say yes. That means that we have to learn how to train the kavanas, the intention in our minds. We have to learn to train ourselves in when we daven, when we ask, when we beg, when we plead from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me something. I'm not asking solely for myself. I'm asking, give it be for your sake, Hashem. Because when you are going to answer my tefillahs, my prayers, and you are going to help me through this precarious situation, and you're going to lift me up and you're going to make me better, you'll bring me salvation, you are the one that is going to win out, because then the glory of the Shechina is going to be restored to this world, and it's your benefit, Hashem. And therefore, that's how we have to pray. That's how we have to ask. And he says, the Chavetz Chaim gave a beautiful mashal, a beautiful parable on this. There was a prince, the son of a king, and he was taken captive amongst some city dwellers in a far-off city. And the king and his men, they lost touch with the prince. And now the prince, who was once upon a time, he was living in the king's palace, all those years living amongst the regular city dwellers in their little tiny shacks with their poverty, with their ripped up clothing, with their boots that had holes in it. So he was living just like them. And he learned from their actions, from their customs. Whatever they did, he did. That's how it works. It's like the scientific or psychological studies of the boy that is raised by a pack of wolves. He learns how to be a wolf. He growls, he bites, he plays, he does all the different things like a wolf does. He can't talk. He doesn't know how to be a human being. He doesn't know what nobility is really all about. He has no idea what Selam Elokim is. He's a wolf. This is the prince. He has privy to private audiences with his father whenever he wants. He has storehouses of treasures, of gold, of silver. He has food every single day, whatever he wants, whatever he orders, the head chef in the kitchen will make it. He has clothing that is so fine and so stunning, so noble, that it's custom made exactly to his fit. In the summertime, he has summer clothing. In the wintertime, winter clothes to keep him warm. He has royal garments that he should walk into the great banquets with. And he is the prince, and he's beloved by his father. That's who he is. And now this poor prince, raised amongst the city dwellers, he doesn't even know anymore who he is. He doesn't know what he has. He's acting like them. However, after many years, and the king has been sending his servants out all over the country, trying to find his son. Finally, they locate the prince. And they come and they see him, and they realize this is the prince, and they tell him, ben Melech, you're a son of the king, you're the prince. Ma tevakesh, what would you like? The king cannot wait to see you. He cannot wait to have you back in his palace. And he wants to know, what can he prepare for you? What would you like? Omar, and this prince, being raised in the city by the dwellers over there, he says, Sheyevilo magampim shelo yitzdan. And do me a favor. It's the winter time. It's freezing over here. I have an old pair of boots. They're ripped up. They have some holes in them. Could the king please send me a pair of boots that will keep my feet warm in the snow? Amulai. The messengers of the king say, Shaita, Shekemaischa, you fool. You fool. You're the prince. You should be asking to return to the palace of the king. Once you get to the palace, you'll be lacking nothing. Says the Chavetz Chaim, do you understand what we're holding right now? We're holding over here that we are the Ben Melech, but we've been raised amongst the nations of the world. We're out, far out from the palace. Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. It's lying in ruins. We don't even know what it means to be a Ben Melech, to being a prince of Hashem anymore. And what do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Nu daven to me." So do we daven, please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need some more money this year. Please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need my health to be restored. Please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need some more siyata d'shmai in my life. I need nachas from the children. I need money on the plate. I need a shidduch for this one. I need a baby. Please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me, give me, give me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, are you a fool? You're Ben Melech, you're a prince. Do you realize that if the glory of my Shechina is restored in this world and Mashiach will come and the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt, you'll have it all. And therefore our goal in our tefillahs, in our prayers, says the Chavetz Chaim, says the Nefesh HaChaim, says the Ramchal, the goal in all of our prayers and all of our disappointment that the Shechina has not yet returned to this land, that the Beis HaMikdash is lying in ruins and the Mashiach is not here, is because we need to feel the pain and the anguish and the suffering that the divine presence is going through. And he's telling us very clearly, if only you will daven for me and not for yourself, if only you will daven for the larger picture, and you'll recognize that I, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I can help you, I can redeem you, I can bring you out of the exile that you're in, and I'll bring you to Yerushalayim, and I'll put you back in the Beis HaMikdash, glory will be restored. Even for you that wants to daven for yourself, you have so much more to gain. By my Shechina, by my divine presence, returning to this world. And if we will daven like that, and we will approach our emunah like this, and we will live a life of dedication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Ratzon and His will, so then that is one of the great reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu will listen to our prayers. Remember, majority of all of the blessings in the Shemona Esrei, in the benching, the grace after meals, the majority is all about Geula, Golus and Geula, exile and redemption. When we recognize that the redemption is for His sake, not for ours, for His sake, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you got the point. You got the message. I will listen to everything that you have to say, and I will answer you. But if you're davening for yourself, says Hashem, I can't hear. For you? Don't you realize that even for you, the greatest bracha, the greatest salvation is when my glory will be restored and the Beis HaMikdash will be here? Daven for the right things, daven in the right way. And then Be'ez Hashem, all of our tefillahs will be answered. And as for thousands of years already, everybody has been waiting for the coming of Mashiach. Even though that he continues to delay, nevertheless, I'm waiting for him. Every day that he is able and he's ready to come. We should be zeicher to see the Bias Goyal Tzedek, the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'mheira, speedily, b'yameinu, and in our days. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful Shabbos. We still have some more to see over here in the 12th principle of faith. So hopefully next week is Hanukkah. I think there should still be a class on Thursday morning. So next week we'll finish Be'ez Hashem, I think, the 12th, and then that will leave us after Hanukkah holding by the 13th and the final principle of faith. Have a wonderful day, everyone.